The timing could not be much better for our next report in our series previewing the first 100 days of the Donald Trump presidency. Tonight, correspondent Kevin Corke on U.S. relations with Russia.
He's considered by most who follow the game to be the greatest chess player of all time. But in many ways, chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov is also the very embodiment of the vestiges of the Cold War between the United States and the former Soviet Union.
Yes, I had to leave my country due to political reasons.
The Russian national may live in New York City, but in his role as chairman for the Human Rights Foundation, he keeps a watchful eye on Moscow.
I have to say that, I couldn't expect things to get worse after 8 years of Obama. But now we are just entering sort of new territory, uncharted waters.
A sobering assessment that comes after watching the gulf between Washington and Moscow expand over the past 8 years, a span that's seen Moscow's unlawful incursion into Ukraine, its bombing of rebels in Syria, and unprofessional treatment of American military assets both in the air and at sea. It's all a reflection, says Kasparov, of Russian President Vladimir Putin, a man whose ruthless pursuit of Russia's romanticized past will continue no matter who's in power in Washington.
It's very hard to explain to anyone who was born and raised in a free country like the United States. It's a one-man dictatorship where you have no rights. And unless you are loyal to the regime, you're on your own, and there's no guarantee, for your security, for your well-being, for your family, and even for your life.
Though the Obama administration has worked with the Russians on a number of initiatives, including the Iran nuclear deal and Paris Climate Accord, major differences obviously remain. Differences further exacerbated by the recent allegations that Russian hacking disrupted the run-up to the U.S. election in November.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could actually get along with Russia? Wouldn't that be a decent thing? Wouldn't that be nice?
If there is an interest in improving relations with Russia, he has to decide what that's for. What is he trying to accomplish? What does he want from the Russians?
President-elect Trump's sentiment that the Russians can be accommodating flies in the face of convention here in Washington, though his outreach has been received with surprising optimism at the Kremlin.
It is well known, widely known, that the President-elect of the United States is publicly in favor of a normalization of Russia-U.S. relations. We cannot not support this. We are, of course, in favor of this.
Still, analysts warn not to read too much into what many perceive could be a thawing of relations, because, say analysts, that's not how leaders in Russia think.
Where the U.S. took a step forward, the Russians have seen a threat. Where the U.S. took a step back, the Russians saw weakness, because the Russians see it as a zero-sum game, as a competition with the United States.
A high-stakes competition with the very fate of the world resting in the hands of a political novice who has repeatedly defied both convention and the odds. Perhaps the biggest issue facing the incoming Trump administration is how best to navigate the complicated relationship between Washington and Moscow. And once again, the consideration becomes, will it be adversarial or ultimately advantageous? Brett?
Kevin Corke on the North Lawn. Kevin, thank you. We are 10 reports through our 15-part series looking ahead to the first 100 days of the Trump presidency. Monday, we focus on the incoming administration's education policy. You can watch all parts of our series on our show homepage, foxnews.com/special report.